ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it.
And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. Ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. Talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it.
It's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it.
And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. Ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. It's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
What up? Welcome to another episode of Head to Head with Brian Parker. I am he. And we are back for another week of talk along with me and my co-host. Thanks for tuning in. We are streaming live and direct on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Empower TV Network. Make sure you go on there to like, share, and most importantly, please subscribe as we are trying to grow our following across YouTube. We are also streaming live on Amazon Fire TV as well as Roku under Empower. So as many of you folks start to realize that cable is just way too damn high and you start what they call cutting the cord and you go to your apps, Roku is a nice alternative. You can pull up a lot of different platforms. But if you do that, please check us out. Empower TV, totally free for right now. So the franchise brings us so many viewers that we have to start charging. Anyway, let's say hello to our co-host. We have Lori Parker. How you doing, Lori?
How you doing? Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. Happy little Friday to you. And we have Mr. TNTBS, Mr. CJ Jones, host of Elephants Exposed, found on YouTube. Please also go there, like, share, as well as subscribe, as Mr. CJ Jones always brings it to us from a law enforcement point of view. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing very good, my brother. Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. My pleasure. And I would be remiss if I did not introduce the next fellow here that is the reason for our uptick in ratings, all the viewerships, especially from all over the world, including India. I don't know what he did there, and I ain't gonna tell nobody. But he's also done some stuff apparently in Belize, St. Martin, and England as well. So we do thank him for bringing in his international guests to watch us. That would be the one, the only, the franchise. Mr. Jermaine Parker, how you doing, sir?
Brother, I'm doing all right.
Oh, that's good. You gotta get the mic volume up a little bit, but you good?
How about that?
Yeah, it's a little muted. I can hear you a little bit. It's a little muted.
Figure that out.
Yeah, sorry. It might be the government. A lot of times, Jermaine will get on and start saying some things, and we know that there's always a black man right across the street from his house.
Absolutely.
Or he could be trying the sexy voice and trying to get that going to get up the viewership.
Oh, well, you know, yeah, I didn't even think about that, you know.
Yeah, the 900 voice.
He's got junkage in front of the camera now, so he definitely gonna get some ratings. So, yeah, see, Lori, when you get in front of the camera, it's like a total blackout.
Well, I guess maybe that's the dark side of the moon. I don't know.
I tell you while Jermaine is trying to figure that out, let's get ready to run this ad. But let me just first say a couple of programming notes. If you would like to join the show, you're here watching it live. But if you or you know someone that may want to every now and then sit in with us, it's not just a foursome. I mean, it's the even number, but we definitely will bring on other folks that want to be involved and engaged in the conversation. If you don't mind getting on camera and you want to do that, hey, feel free, reach out to me and we'll talk about it and make it happen. If it can be something that you can do every single week, please do as often as possible. You want to give a mic check real quick?
Mic check.
Sounds a lot better. There you go. Yeah, there he is. But yeah, so and if you would like to advertise, I just told you the 5 different platforms that we are currently live streaming on. And if you would like your product, your good, your service, whatever it is that you do, and you want to bring more people to you, we would definitely love to partner with you in the form of advertising, commercials, any events that are coming that you think people would want to know about. Please let us know. We'll put it on the live stream. We'll put it on the Roku and Amazon Fire TV channel and try to help you with that exposure. So just let us know about that too. One of the examples of that we air from time to time is Jermaine Parker Realty. Yes, it is the same Jermaine Parker that is on. He is a broker in charge with Jermaine Parker Realty, and I actually am a broker understudy at Jermaine Parker Realty. Actually, I am a realtor. Sorry,
You are a realtor, a real realtor.
I'm a real realtor. Not just using that name and everybody thinks it means real estate agent. Anyway, so Lori, without further ado, take it away, Jermaine Parker Realty.
Is it a good time to buy or sell a house? No, it is a great time to buy or sell a house. And at a time like this, having a realtor who has your back is key. Introducing Jermaine Parker Realty, here for all of your needs, licensed in both North Carolina and South Carolina. Let Jermaine Parker Realty help you with your next big investment.
I love that bass line. Anyway, and I don't know that guy that does the background is really cool too. So, Jermaine,
So
how is that real estate market?
So, and I'm not going to take up the whole show talking about real estate stuff because I could. I will tell you this. One of the things that, let me say this. First of all, Brian Parker, even though he just got his license, has been in the hotel motel industry 30 years. 31 years. And because of that, it's what helped him get his license, because he's intimately familiar with property management, being a former assistant GM, revenue manager, just all kind of working around really real estate all of his life, even if he didn't really make the connection that that's what he was doing and stuff. So you're in good hands. I constantly am amazed as I'm trying to mentor and tutor him in the industry and stuff, that where his knowledge is already on the subject matter and stuff. But after lathering that praise on him, market, so real estate's local. So if you're watching this overseas or you're watching this out of town and stuff, my first thing is to tell you is that if you really want to know what's going on in your area, you need to contact a professional realtor, and they can help you understand what's going on in your market. If you're in the Charlotte area, the big thing that I try to tell people is that Charlotte is the 15th largest city in the U.S. We, in fact, have more people in our city limits than Atlanta.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's over 900,000 people in Charlotte proper. In Atlanta, there's only like 500,000 people. Now, the difference is in our surrounding areas, we only have 2.3. Atlanta has over 6 million. And so if you ever wonder why their traffic's so bad, it's because everybody's commuting in and out of the city. But just for proportional, when you look at the market and stuff. But what I'm telling people is that if you lived in New York, if you worked in New York, and you say I live in Jersey, but I cross over to work into New York, or even as DC, I live in Virginia, or I live in Maryland, California, big cities out there and stuff. If people don't live in San Francisco, they commute in and stuff. I could go on with those examples with those major cities and stuff. Charlotte's a major city. And if you're not making, and I'm just going to be generous and say, well, actually I'd be nice and say, if you're not making either individually or as a couple, about $120,000 a year, Charlotte is becoming unaffordable. The median price in Charlotte is like $450 something right now. And so in order to qualify for a loan right now in Charlotte with those prices, you're not going to find a $120,000 house. in Charlotte. But what you can do is you can go outside of Charlotte. You can look in. You're a little late for Concord. Concord's market value is coming up too. But if you start thinking about places like Kannapolis, and you're almost a little late for Kannapolis, but even further out like Salisbury, and you're willing to make the commute in, you can really find some gems out there if you're not making that qualifying amount to live in Charlotte. And that's just, it's the hard truth of where we are in the market and stuff. But again, if you went to Atlanta, and again, the example I used earlier, and part of the reason I brought up Atlanta is that as big as Atlanta is, people don't live in Atlanta. It's too expensive. They live in surrounding and they commute in. And so that's just kind of the mindset. And if you are a futurist with a good idea, then you know that instead of trying to hold on to Charlotte, hop out to the surrounding counties, whether it be Belmont or Gastonia or Mooresville or Statesville, or how far you, or if you want to go into South Carolina. I'm not licensed in South Carolina, so I'm not going to mention it. But any of those counties around there, if you want to hop out there and get into it, then that's something that I would do now, because just like Atlanta, the suburbs are now priced almost commensurate with the city. So it's one of those things that, the real estate, if you're looking for a crash, there's not going to be a crash. You can stop. I mean, real estate, the way that we have our products is 30-year mortgages and stuff. That's what makes our real estate here in the United States more stable. And if you look right now for what the default rates are in foreclosures and stuff, they're some of the lowest rates that we've ever seen. So people are not defaulting on their loans. There are a lot of people who are locked in. The reason I bring up the 30-year mortgage, who are locked in to those 2%, 3%, 4% mortgages and stuff. They're not selling. They're not defaulting. Whatever you see in front of you is what you see in front of you. So if you see a good deal, waiting on the sidelines and stuff, and also there's a good chance that the Feds might lower the rates, and there's people who are waiting for the rates to come down. And when they do, all hell's going to break out, because then there's going to be, it's already a short supply. So what's going to happen is that people are going to jump back in because the rates go down, and then it's going to be fighting over houses again. And while the rates may come down, the prices are going to skyrocket.
It's going to be a seller's market.
It'll be supply and demand again. So there's just a couple little things real quick about how, when people say, how's the market, Jermaine? That's how the market is. That's what I believe for the future of the market. And if you're in the Charlotte area and stuff, the Parker brothers, come holler us, and we'll take care of you. We got a lot of good knowledge and stuff. I've got some years in the industry now myself. Not, I'm not 30 years deep, but I'm a student of the game, and like I said, my brother is very knowledgeable too.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add on that too, Jermaine, is that there are certain people that are still out there buying houses right now, and a lot of it may just be simply necessity. Maybe they've accepted a new job and they've got to move across country and things like that. So waiting may not necessarily be an option for everybody. Some people may just decide, hey, let me just go ahead and wait a little bit. Even if you are in that holding pattern, the one thing that I would recommend that you do right now is work on things on the credit report. Bring your debt service ratio down to a point where what you can afford will be there when you do want to sit there and get a house. Like if you've got a lot of outstanding debt, bring a lot of that stuff down.
I would just adding to that. You're talking about people waiting on the sidelines. So my point about the rates coming down and everybody jumping in and prices going up, before that happens. So here's the thing: you can always refinance your rate.
That's right.
And so a lot of people say date the rate kind of thing, because the rates change. And so, and here's the thing, like, let's say, I think I looked the other day, rates, depending on your credit score, somewhere between 6.5 and 7 right now. Let's say that's 7. And you go ahead and buy a house and you're like, man, my rate's 7%, and the rates go up. Well, you won, because you got the lower rate than what's going to be in the future. Let's say that the rates go down. Well, you refinance and you get a better deal on your whether you're pulling out equity or whatever you're doing, you can refinance and get a lower rate. Let's say the rates don't change. Well, then you didn't lose anything. So it's it's win-win draw about buying it currently and stuff. And so you waiting on the sidelines and stuff. And the other thing too is that I always tell people, a lot of people like to start talking to lenders and stuff right when they're ready to buy. If you are unsure of where you are a year out before you're ready to buy is when you need to start talking to a lender. Your grandmother, your auntie, your uncle, your barber and stuff, they've never loaned anybody money. Do not listen to them about what you need to pay off or what you need to do. You need to talk to a licensed professional who knows, who can look at your credit report and tell you what steps you need to take in order for your dreams to be viable.
Good point.
Joy, bailing on Joy's name. I just actually I don't know why I did that. Anyway, I got my wrong phone. But the point being that there are licensed professionals out there. Give us a call. We can hook you up with them too.
Right.
I don't get paid to recommend these people. There's no kickback on my end where they give me money and stuff like that. I recommend people who do good work because my reputation is what allows me to continue to have customers and people reaching out to me and stuff. And so I would never recommend you to anybody that wasn't experienced and stuff. Joy Bailey, she's the licensed loan officer. But
a lot of these lenders do specialize in the different types of loans, whether they're FHA, VA, conventional.
Yeah, Joy can do anything, so it's whatever you want. But yep, so that's the market. That's kind of my advice. If you're looking to buy a house, like the commercial says, now is always a good time. Because if you think about it, a lot of people will say, especially young people, are like, well, I guess I should have bought real estate when I was in elementary school, when I was 8 years old, when it was cheap and stuff. Well, it will be, so give it another 10 years and it will be more expensive. So if you don't buy now, the prices are only going to go up. Again, because of our loan products on being on 30-year cycles and stuff, the fluctuation that you see in the market and stuff, it's usually like a 20-year cycle, 25-year cycle. And so it didn't start going up until prices start going back up into 2012-ish. So I'm telling you, you got another 10 years if you think that there's something else going to happen. Just based on the cycle of real estate, the history. So buy now, save later.
I always tell my mom too, because she rents, and I ended on this. She always talks about when the leases are up for renewal, she knows she's going to get a letter, and what's going to be in the letter? Your rent's going up. What am I getting? Nothing. You pay it or get the heck out. So it's the good thing about buying a house, once you get to that point that you can do it, it is a great way that I always say to have somewhat of rent control. There are things that that may come up as part of expenses, but the good thing is that those expenses are going into your investment and into your coffers, and not the coffers of a big of a landlord or rental company and that kind of thing. So it is more or less rent control, where you kind of know that my mortgage is this, and unless I refinance or something like that, or that kind of thing, what I'm paying is what I'm paying. The only thing that changed for us this year, Jermaine, is we did change our homeowners insurance, and that kind of took it up just a little bit. But
I tell people, no matter what you're paying the mortgage, you're either paying your mortgage or you're paying somebody else's. Exactly. And the only difference is that when you pay your mortgage, you are able to recapture the equity out of your product, as opposed to letting somebody else earn off of you.
Yeah, when you're in the Charlotte market, and now I'm seeing rentals get as high as $2,000 a month or better. When you think about that, it's $24,000 a year that you're giving somebody, just and that you won't even get any benefit from. So it's always something to look at. But again, when you're ready to at least start talking about it, reach out to Jermaine Parker Realty, and I hear that those guys do a really good job of getting people the information that they need. You agree with that?
Absolutely.
Well, I gave Lori some really bad news on Sunday, and I wanted to share that with y'all. It's really, really going to be hard. and I don't know what to tell her other than you're gonna have to get over it. But some really, really bad news. This past Sunday is the last Sunday for the next 6 months without any football, baby. We're back. The NFL, college football. We are back, baby. Ain't no more preseason. Ain't no more training camps. I'm ready to talk about them damn Cowboys. I'm ready to sit there and get it crunked by my Carolina Panthers. But no, seriously. And I will say two things before I even get into that. And I mentioned it on our sports show. Every Wednesday, we have a sports show called Head to Head Sports with me and my co-host, Mr. Randall Hargrove, where we break down the goings on in the NFL. Yesterday was our final preseason show where we talked about the NFC South and the AFC South, as well as predictions as far as who's going to the playoffs. And yes, CJ, I did have the Dallas Cowboys as a wild card in the playoffs for the NFC East. And we also talked about some college football as Deion Sanders, who was formerly the coach at Jackson State, made the move over to Colorado to a team that only won one game last season, opening up against a team that went to the Bowl Championship Series last year in TCU and pulled out a W on Saturday. We were actually in New York, Lori and myself, at a restaurant, and all of the TVs were on that game. It got so much national attention, and it's a good thing to see Prime be able to bring his platform out, and they actually get a victory. A lot of those athletes would not have gotten that exposure had Prime not come over to that program. So it'll be very interesting to see what they'll be able to do for the rest of the season. In addition to that, like I said, NFL, we've got our first real game tonight between the Detroit Lions and the Kansas City Chiefs. Then that's just going to lead all the way into Sunday, Lori, and Monday. I think Monday we have a doubleheader, but we've got full-on football. So if you got fantasy football out there and everything else, it is now that time. I will make one note, y'all, about fantasy football. I about lost my stuff on Sunday when one of my fantasy football drafts, I had the 9th pick in that particular draft. I had the first in one last Thursday, but I had a 9th pick. Somebody literally with the 4th pick took Sam Howell, quarterback for the Washington Commanders, with Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Justin Fields, Josh Allen, Tua Tagovailoa, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud,
Me,
me. took all those cats were still on the board, and he said, I'm gonna go with that Sam Howell guy, who has never been a full-time starter in the NFL. He did start a few games at the end of last year when Ron Rivera pulled Taylor Heineke as a starter, and Sam Howell is a second or third year player out of the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. But just the fact that Patrick Mahomes and all these other guys were on the board, and he went and got Sam Howell, we just all looking like, wait, what? So it's going to be a very interesting fantasy football year as well. So wow. I'm ready. I'm ready to go, y'all. I'm ready to sit there and get my picks in and just watch as much and be able to do the show. But yes, Lori, for the next 6 months, it's going to be football. There's going to be Thursday night football, Saturday college football, Sunday professional football, Monday professional football. And I'll play Madden on Tuesday and Wednesday. So I don't know what to tell you.
It's all right. I'll be okay.
CJ, you ready for your Cowboys?
12-5. 12-5. 12-5. That's what I see.
12 wins?
12-5.
12-5. Well, they've won 12 games each of the last 2 years, so that's a pretty safe bet. I can see that.
I know it's safe. because if they pull out anything greater than 12, I'm gonna fall out.
Well, I mean, 12
Seriously. Nah, I mean, and I said that because unlike my other Cowboys brothers and sisters out there, y'all know that I'm the actual realistic football fan of the Cowboy fan. So yeah, 12-5 is what I say.
Okay, that's decent. That's decent. I call for the Panthers to win the NFC South. Not as a homer, but just looking. It's almost by default. The rest of the division sucks, and we don't really know what New Orleans is going to be and not going to be. We don't really know what Carolina is going to be either. But I kind of
I was surprised by that call.
Really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't see Tampa with Baker Mayfield. I think he's going to do Baker things. And I think Kyle Trask will be the starter down in Tampa sooner than later. I think Atlanta will do the same thing with Desmond Ritter, realize that Taylor Heineke is a better backup quarterback, and they'll make the switch there. They're still kind of a year out, even though they have a nice rookie running back in Bijan Robinson. And then it just comes basically down to me to Carolina and New Orleans, and you can take a coin flip. Derek Carr is a good quarterback, but a lot of times Derek Carr is kind of like Dak. He'll give you a lot of yards, but then he'll throw untimely interception and lose games. So he'll put up a lot of yards, but they won't always translate into wins because he'll throw a pick six. He'll do some kind of turnover at the end of the game, trying too hard, trying too much, locking in on his favorite receiver, who's probably going to be Chris Olave. The good thing with Carolina is that Bryce Young, even though he's a shorter quarterback, and I hate short quarterbacks, seems to be a pretty intelligent guy. Already seems to have a good relationship with Adam Thielen. The Carolina Panthers do not have a quote unquote number one receiver. So
what's your average height for a quarterback, B?
About anywhere between 6'2" to 6'5". And Bryce is maybe 5'10", maybe. And the reason is that the average height for the defensive linemen, the guys that are right in the trenches, 6'5", 6'7", 6'8". So when those guys sit there and see you get ready to throw the ball, all they have to do is raise their arms, and they can bat the balls down or they can block your vision. And when you're looking at guys crossing, like a slot receiver or somebody like that, right across the middle, they can't see them because those big guys are blocking their view. Okay. So then you have to rely on those shorter guys to do things like you'll see them a lot of times when they roll out of the pocket, and they roll to the right, roll to the left. They're doing that a lot of times, not only to extend the play, but to have a clear line of sight to be able to throw the ball. Okay. So, when you saw a guy like a Russell Wilson, and, he short quarterback, but when you would see him, he'd be on his tiptoes throwing the ball. Drew Brees on his tiptoes throwing the ball. And when you see the kind of art,
I was about to bring them two up. I'm glad. Yeah. Ironically, you said it too. I was about to bring them up.
Throw the ball too. It wasn't a lot of straight throws. They would have to almost throw it, arch it,
right,
to keep it out of harm's way. Because
now Drew made it look easier.
He did.
He made it look easy. He made it look like he was their height. But right.
He did. But the crazy thing is that now part of the drills for defenses are when instead of just knocking balls down, now the drill is to knock them up in the air and see if you can come up under it and get an interception. They practice those things like they do the peanut punch, where they're trying to force fumbles out of running backs when they're carrying the ball, and a lot of them like to carry it like they have a loaf of bread in their hand, and now that you got to keep it closer to your body, otherwise somebody could come in there with the punch it out, and now it's a live ball. How many scoop and scores have we started seeing over the last couple of years where they punch it out and somebody scoops it up? The guy's sitting about to run out of breath into the end zone. Player now becomes an offensive player in a second, in a flash. So those are the kind of things. So even though Bryce scares me with that, the other thing that scares me with smaller quarterbacks is, hey, offensive lines aren't perfect. There's going to be lapses where a good defensive player gets around them and they get a hit on that quarterback. Little guys do not last full seasons. That always scares me, whether you look at Kyler Murray, who got hurt last year and is on the physical unable to perform and won't even be able to start the first 4 games for the Arizona Cardinals this year. You look at other guys like Michael Vick, as dynamic as he was, never played a full season for the Atlanta Falcons because he always ended up with cracked ribs. Robert Griffin III's career ended. Johnny Manziel's ended. Baker Mayfield is on his fourth team. These little guys, Zach Wilson up in New York, constantly getting hurt. So these little guys can have all these arms, man. But when they get a hit, that's why Cam Newton was just crazy because somebody 6'6", 280 running, and you're a defensive back, he's going to hurt you more than you hurt him.
You got that right.
You see a guy like that. Unless you're like Tom Brady, that's always had some really good offensive lines and things like that. Or if you weren't and you were a guy like Andrew Luck who would sit there and put some pain on you. When you're a little guy and you take those hits, every time I'm going, oh God, is he going to get up? Is he going to get up? And if you are a team with a little quarterback, the most important position on that team is the backup quarterback. Because more than likely, at some point in the season, he's going to have to come in there. And
you mentioned Tom Brady, I go Brett Favre, and some other guys. Their release, they just didn't hold the ball long enough.
For you get to him. The ball was already gone.
Yeah, now that's one thing I really do have to give to a handful of quarterbacks, even though I couldn't stand them when I was playing them. But their releases was crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, whether they were actually connecting or not, it was the fact that they got rid of that ball, and by the time you got to him, it was like, hey, bro.
Yeah, I don't have that. What you looking for?
I know. It's like, hey, roughing the passer, bro.
That's probably why Aaron Rodgers is still able to play, because he just doesn't take a lot of sacks.
He does not.
Like Joe Burrow.
He's got his legs and his release. His releases. Aaron Rodgers. I saw even now. I was impressed. I saw a clip of his practice up there in New York and stuff. And that release, it's so
crazy.
Yeah.
So
he will not hang on to that ball.
Their release is nuts. But then you take another guy like Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, and he's taken over 90 sacks over the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, he's getting hit way too much.
It's way too much. Even though the team is having success, the
longevity,
huge deal. Quarterbacks are now getting paid, Lori, $55 to $65 million a year. And that's a lot of money to put in a player that their best ability is their availability.
Right.
And like you got Deshaun Watson, they got that $230 million fully guaranteed contract, and then he's suspended for the first 12 games of last year. So but guess what? He still got the money. Suspension or not. So Lord, it's a football corner wrap up. Thank you, Lori. But yeah, so that's what we got going on with the NFL. I could do a whole nother sports show, y'all, but just suffice it to say, exciting season. Everybody's 0-0. Everybody feels like they got a chance to get to the chip. But we will see. Only 2 teams will make it, and probably by week 5 or 6, we will start to see the contenders versus the pretenders. But check it out every Wednesday at 7:00 for the analysis on that with myself and Mr. Randall Hargrove, where we will go deep into what happens in the NFL. All right, enough with the NFL. We talked NFL real estate. Hey, let's talk a little bit about what is currently going on in Fulton County, Georgia. I'm sure you guys are aware that Super DA Fonnie Willis down there sat there and brought RICO charges, a racketeering influence corruption statute against Donald Trump and 18 co-defendants. And it was interesting on our way back from New York, actually listening in on one of the first televised court proceedings. And that's a good thing about state charges is that those court proceedings are televised. Federal cases, for the most part, are not televised. Televised is good because you're able to get a little bit more transparency about what's going on in the courtroom. Hopefully, people on the right will take advantage of that, because a lot of times they're being spoon-fed things by media. I know they won't, but they're being spoon-fed things by media organizations that are not true. Or when people come out of the courtroom, their version of what happened in the courtroom is totally different, and that's how they get their news. And for most people, that's how they'll continue to get their news. But it was the first proceeding was a proceeding to sever between Kenneth Chesbro and Sidney Powell, and this stems from the fact that in the state of Fulton County, Georgia, there is a speedy trial law that does allow you, depending on what judicial season that you're in, if you request a speedy trial, you have to be tried within that season or within that term, not season, that term or the immediate term after. If you cannot be brought to trial in that time frame, all charges against you are dropped, dismissed. It's like you've been acquitted, and then you cannot be retried. So what happened is that Kenneth Chesbro, who was an attorney, there's a lot of attorneys in this RICO, but Kenneth Chesbro, I think, made a calculated move to call out Fonnie Willis's bluff to say, I don't think you're ready to go to trial. Yeah, you brought the charges, but I don't think you're ready. And she said, nah, bet. Let's do this. How about October 23rd? That work for you? Which is only 6 weeks from now. And that's a quick turnaround. Plus, I think what he also wanted to do was, if she is ready, I'm going to take my chances to get a trial and not be connected to these other 18 fools that'll make me look bad, because there is a thing of guilt by association.
Well, especially in RICO.
Yeah, especially in RICO.
Especially in a RICO.
That's the
especially in a RICO.
The whole point of RICO is to make you look bad, because it ties you to an enterprise of people where just your particular role in and of itself may not look that consequential, but when it looks like it is part of a fiber woven into a bigger fabric, now you're looking at something bigger, and now you're a part of the enterprise. I told Lori, it's kind of like the lawyers were arguing that because he's the foot and he ain't never seen the arm, he shouldn't have anything to do with it, even though they're attached to the same body. The body is an enterprise, but the different defendants are pieces of that body. And they're saying, well, I'm just the toes. I don't know what the fingers be doing. And the whole thing behind RICO is, well, you don't need to know what them fingers be doing. Them fingers could be doing the middle finger, and it doesn't matter. Y'all attached to the same body. I remember my mama used to tell me it didn't matter. If my brother did something and I ain't say nothing, I'm going to get the same beating that he was going to get. That was the first time I understood what RICO was.
Guilt by association, baby.
Guilt by association. And I'm sitting there like, why am I getting beat? You getting beat because he did it and you ain't say nothing about it, so you going to take the L too. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. And I know my mama watching, and yes, you said it. And I know you don't want to remember it, but you did it.
I was raised the same way. Basically, look, our mothers and fathers was not that different. Look, and that's why I say we all are brothers and sisters for real. Like when it comes to stuff like that, I think they all went to the same school together. I think they all went in the same. Like, listen, I am totally convinced. I don't care if y'all from New York. I don't care if you're from California. Everybody went to the same school.
Yeah. Everybody get beat for what one person did. That's what RICO is. If you want to sit there and understand the complexities of RICO charges and how do they work and all that kind of stuff, if you have parents like that where one person do something but everybody take the L, that's RICO. That's RICO.
Well, I think you know what, you can simplify it even better than that. Just think about boot camp. One person mess up, we all messed up.
Everybody got to do push-ups.
You're only as strong as your weakest link.
Yeah. I remember that.
Figure it out.
Well, I enjoy the analogy. I do, but the important thing to understand, especially like when we talk about other people that listen in and they get their news from different places and stuff, that's a little bit too oversimplified, because a lot of people say, well, his lawyers and stuff were doing stuff and he was innocent. It's a punish them all kind of thing just because they work for him and they're going to pull him into it and stuff. No, RICO's a little bit different. Everybody, you can say that you don't know what everybody else is doing, but you knew what you were doing. Everybody that's being charged and stuff has a charge. They did something. Right. What all RICO is saying is that RICO, especially the Georgia State RICO, allows them to combine those crimes. Everybody individually has done something illegal.
Exactly.
So it's not so. And I just want to draw this.
That's true. That's true. Because
you can't use and this is the part that I see. You can't use plausible denial for so long, and that's what they're trying to push a lot on the right side. Oh, I had no knowledge of. Well, just because you didn't have the knowledge of it, think about what they will tell us. Right. Just because you don't know the law doesn't mean that you are excused of the law.
Well,
right.
So
Jermaine's point on that though is, I'm sorry, Jermaine.
No, go ahead.
But they had criminal exposure as well. What the RICO is doing is taking my criminal exposure, somebody else's criminal exposure, and because they were connected to the same enterprise, that's where RICO comes from. So it's not even a fact of, well, I didn't know what my boss was doing. I was participating and I was doing things that weren't legal, and somebody else on the other side of the country was doing some illegal thing too, related to the same enterprise, and they bring it all together. And what these people are trying to say is, well, I didn't know this guy. I'm here in Washington. This person is in Wisconsin. Well, it doesn't matter. You both were breaking the law for the same thing, which is to basically illegally hold on to the office of the presidency of the United States.
And that's the only difference, like say, because I like and it is true. Our mother did say that because she said she was not a detective. She was not going to sit there and try to figure out who did what. But RICO's different.
I'll speak to both of you, and one of you either.
Yeah, RICO's different because it, like I say, it connects the dots and pulls, and you're allowed to look and say, this is big picture what's going on. There was a crime here. It's like solving a series of break-ins or bank robberies and stuff. Well, First Union got robbed over here. If you're old enough to know where First Union is, and Wachovia and Bank of America and stuff, but then you connect the dots and go, oh yeah, this is the same gang that's doing all these bank robberies and stuff, and we're connecting the dots, and we're going to charge them all together. Even though you didn't participate in this particular crime, you're part of the same enterprise with the same goal in mind when you committed these crimes. So yeah, RICO, like I say, and again, it's just because other people will simplify it as an excuse why Donald Trump is innocent. He might, I've never seen anybody that hang around so many criminals and not be a criminal themselves.
Right.
Birds of a feather, my brother. Birds of a feather.
But there are a lot of people who will sit there and make that association with that kind of analogy that says, oh yeah, well, he didn't know what was going on, and that's not fair. Because that's the whole thing. Like, because as soon as you brought up the boot camp thing, I thought to myself, yeah, but there's people who are marching right and doing what they're supposed to do, and they're being punished as a group, and that's not RICO. That's not RICO. RICO is every one of you was doing something, but we all put it together. You were part of something bigger, even if you didn't know what was going on this side of the business. Just because you were shooting people over here and they were money laundering over there. You don't have to know what they're doing. You were both doing crimes.
And to your point, Jermaine, that's why everybody doesn't have the same counts. The number.
That's right.
Some people have 2 counts. Some people have multiple, even more counts than that. And that's the whole point. And I love Fonnie Willis because people are like, she keeps talking about she wants to try all 19 of them. Well, yeah, she does. But even logistically, while that wouldn't work, she knows good and well that as it gets closer and closer, that half of those people are going to plead out. It is expensive. And, it's so funny now how people on the right now are worried about bail reform and people having to get attorneys and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, this happens every single day. And when it's people that don't look like you and they're having to there and, pay bail and all these kind of things. Oh, it was never a big deal. Now, Rudy Giuliani has to have a fundraiser for $100,000 a head to pay his legal bills, and one guy couldn't even pay for a lawyer, so he had to go to jail for a week. So now it's a problem.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Don't you know he had the nerve? Did y'all know he? Henderson, someone with an H.
Yeah, all I know is he's a black guy.
He heavily insinuated
the only one that couldn't make bail was the black guy.
Was a black guy.
Right. And I thought that was
his
so
first name
funny.
was Tyler.
And he actually,
Was it Tyler?
I think it's, say what now?
I can't remember.
I said, was his first name Tyler?
No, hold on, y'all. Let me get his name because the funny part
But
about
I
this guy.
thought that was interesting.
Harrison. Floyd Harrison.
Okay.
Harrison.
Yeah. How about that?
Harrison.
Well,
Floyd.
Floyd found out that he was not as different as he thought he was.
Yeah. He said, he went on.
He was on the
He
chart.
went
The
on-
more
he
you
went
F
on-
around, the
Oh,
more
by
you
the way,
find
he
out.
is out.
Oh, yeah, he's out
he
now.
Is out.
He's
But
out now.
the
Yeah.
thing about it is that he was trying to say that Fonny did this because he was the only black. I'm like, he low key called her racist against. Like, how did that work again? Like,
Well,
you
because
low key called her a racist
because black people
he
like
is
Candace
black.
Owens and those kind of people recognize racism when something happens to them, but when something happens to other people, it's economic, it's culture, it's everything but racism and stuff. And
Right.
the funny thing is that a lot of
Legacy
people,
and, you're just playing that card instead of sitting there realizing that we all now have the opportunities to rise out of those circumstances. Just ask Tim Scott.
yeah, and so I think he should have just rose out. I think he should have pulled himself out of bootstraps and he should have paid his own
walked
bill.
out.
You know, I mean,
He walked out.
thank
just
you,
walked
man.
out.
You that perfectly.
Well, and the thing too is that they're trying to. Fonny's in Georgia, and
just girdle up their loins and just press forward.
So Fonny's in Georgia, and one of the things is that they had a call. There were a lot of Republicans. Again, you got a black woman charging all these white people with stuff. They wanted Governor Kemp to do something about this.
Yeah.
And the thing that, here's why I bring this up, is that the reason Kemp refused is not because he thinks she's doing a great job. It's because she runs as a Republican. And so she is not if she was a Democrat, there probably would have been more stuff, but the police funded her campaign, Republicans funded her campaign and stuff. He could not go after one of his own and stuff simply because she was bringing charges against the former president. And so I bring that up too, because there are a lot of right-wing people who are like, it's the liberals and all this stuff going after. Nope. That's one of y'all's.
You stupid.
Well, and it's important. It's an important note because
You are right.
When they talk about deep state and the conspiracy theories and stuff about why this is politically motivated, and I guess you could say, sure, maybe it's politically connected because you were trying to steal the office of the president, which is a funny thing because it's amazing that somebody got a job, couldn't do the job. When they got fired from the job, they called their friends to come up to the job and mess the job up. When those friends went to jail for it, they reapplied for the same job.
Exactly.
It's amazing what you can do when you're rich.
Yo,
right.
Yeah, and it's funny how you keep hearing. And again, if I don't give Republicans any credit for anything, branding the ridiculous and branding the hypocrisy is an art form.
It
when
really
they
is.
start bringing
it really is.
Your justice system, I'm sitting there going, until Fulton County, Donald Trump didn't even get a mugshot. Donald Trump arranged for his arraignment before he even got to the courthouse. And that Fulton County courthouse is notorious for people getting booked and it taking 24 hours from start to finish to get the heck out of there. He was in there for 20 minutes and talked about how damn horrible it was. And they keep talking about a two-tier justice system. You're damn right there's a two-tier justice system, but not the way that you're trying to sell it.
Yeah,
exactly. Because to your point, Brian, you had even a couple of radio show hosts. I forgot which station it was on. I want to say it was one of the cast of DL Hughley's people. That's actually their hometown, and it took him, like you said, 24 hours to sign his own self out. Mm-hmm. And I think his thing was it was a misdemeanor.
Yeah.
It was slightly above infraction, but it wasn't like you can sign yourself out. It was like one of those ridiculous
On your own
charges.
reconnaissance and stuff.
Right. So
Or-
it was like,
or
okay,
the
well,
other,
we'll just
the other
do
one,
it.
or even until Fulton County, he didn't have to put up any bail. But yeah,
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
talk
exactly.
about New York wanting to do bail reform where people don't have to put up bail. Oh my God!
He
Oh my
didn't
God!
take his passport.
And the criminals
They
back
did.
on the street. Alvin Bragg's going after Donald Trump, but he's just letting criminals run all over the street. They're not even paying bail. Okay, Trump
He
didn't pay no bail till Fulton County.
He didn't have to give up his passport.
Nope. I
like you said, like, all
he
the-
didn't have
all
no, I bet you didn't get no body cavity search.
No.
They do that to you too. You ain't know that, did you, Lori? They make you drop it all the way down, bend over, spread them butt cheeks, and they make it
And
say
call-
Blue River. Yeah.
Yep.
Jermaine's a
Guarantee you that didn't happen.
What's up, Jermaine?
Guarantee you that didn't happen.
Me too. I mean, trust me, I'm glad the person doing the body cavity searches is glad that they didn't have to do Donald Trump. But when you talk about two-tier justice system, people get processed in a way that he did not get processed in any of these occasions. Nobody else is having a damn motorcade take them to the prison.
Yeah.
Where they have to sit there and basically shut off the whole jail until you get processed. I'm sure they wanted it to be
Flying in on a private jet, but yet you still pulling money from but you still crying you need money. You came in on a private jet. You had a police motorcade.
He don't need money. He just want other people's money to pay for
right. And so like the fools they are. Oh, here you are, demigod.
That's God Emperor to you. The God Emperor.
So here's the thing, and so I believe, and I think you said it. Well, that's the thing you said, that they're really good at the packaging of messages and stuff, and so that's all. People have been sold on stuff, and quite honestly, we're all sold on things through marketing and stuff. Your favorite brand or something maybe just simply because you were told that it was so great, not because it's particularly better and stuff. I think me and Brian were talking, and I told him, I said, man, I found was the Hyundai is it Equus?
Yeah, Equus.
Okay, so Hyundai decided that they wanted to have a luxury, big body luxury car like the 7 Series Beamer or the 400 Series Lexus or the Mercedes. Is it 5 Series? 7? I forget what their series is and stuff for the big cars and stuff.
Lori likes, yes.
Yeah, and so Hyundai made a fantastic bells and whistles luxury vehicle and stuff, and they had to discontinue it because nobody wanted to buy it because they had been sold on what luxury was.
Right.
And so Hyundai eventually rebranded into the Genesis, but that brand in so much that, and I was telling Ron, I said, well, I didn't know about these cars, and I found out about these cars, and the resale on them is crazy, considering the miles they have on them and the features that they have. I said, man, I'm gonna try to sneak and get me one of those one day because of the value. But a lot of people missed out on a good product because of branding.
Right.
Right.
A lot. So we all face that kind of things, when Shaquille O'Neal decided to come out with his own shoes because a mother complained about the price of shoes and stuff. A lot of people didn't want to buy shoes because of where it was sold.
Right.
They'd rather overpay for a pair of Nikes or Adidas or Reeboks or whatever because of branding. The same thing is happening in our politics when you look at people in Donald Trump. It's not so much that they're idiots and stuff like that, or they've fallen victim to marketing and branding.
Yep.
And Donald Trump, if he didn't do anything right in his life, he couldn't manage the business, but he could definitely market and brand.
Oh yeah.
And then the Republican Party, because they're not interested in policy anymore, have become so gifted at trying. That's the culture war stuff. The reason they do that is because they don't have any policy, but they're so good at branding, they can take your words, flip them around. We've seen that over the last couple of years, right? where they've used things that were innocent and flipped those around. And the same thing has happened. And I only bring all this up just to say that when I talk about people that are on the other side of my political leaning, people that vote for Donald Trump, continue to vote for Donald Trump, a lot of those people are good people who have been misled through this marketing and stuff. And so I don't think particularly that that these people are evil. I don't think that they have. Now, I'm not saying that there's not a contingent of them that are and know exactly what they're getting into, but I think a lot of people that are involved in this have just been misled, and they're false prophets and stuff.
No.
Jim Jones,
right? I got it. Right,
Jermaine, as you were saying that, I was thinking about Jerry Jones in Dallas. Cowboys ain't won a Super Bowl in 27 years, but they are America's team.
They believe.
And they are they are worth.
Hold on.
Hold on, see, I'm gonna get you this. Jerry Jones bought that franchise for less than $200 million. It is now worth $9 billion as a franchise, and it's not based off their success. It's based off of his genius marketing of that football team.
Yeah.
So all the credit in the world. I ain't bringing them up to down them because they won the Super Bowl in 27 years. My point is that the success on the field has not done anything to diminish the value that he bought that franchise under for less than $200 million is now the most expensive franchise at $9 billion, when in comparison, most NFL teams are around $2 to $5 billion. The Commanders just sold for $6 billion. And the Cowboys are worth $9 billion. So marketing and branding can never be diminished. Before y'all get into that, I don't know if y'all know who Stephen Miller is, but he used to be a senior advisor with Donald Trump. And after the mugshot came out, I found this absolutely hilarious. Everybody trying to spin how he looked in his mugshot. So I just wanted to I wanted to play this clip real quick. Laura, you have it? Do you see it?
Well, you're right. It is all about emotion. I'm going to get a little poetical with you tonight, if I may. They say that the eyes are the window into the human soul. That blazing set of eyes that we saw in that photograph revealed a soul that is literally burning with a righteous flame on behalf of 300 million Americans. That is one of the most powerful images that I have ever seen. Yes, through the injustice, through the autocracy, through the crushing heel of the government, the oppression of the Democratic Party, one man and his two eyes looked straight into the hearts of the American people and said, I will not give up, I will not back down, I will not surrender, I will see this through no matter how it ends, they will not break me. That's what that photograph said. And those of us who have believed and who have hoped that there would be a real man, a true man someday who would vindicate our rights. We don't know how this battle ends, but we know that we will be riding in this battle, in this struggle to save democracy with a real man, Jesse.
Even the Chiron. Even the Chiron.
Oh, God.
Iconic mugshot. I can tell Lori.
Okay, wait a minute.
The only thing burning on that man is his urinary tract.
Without laughing himself.
But he said it with such conviction.
How did he get through that field without laughing himself?
I don't know, because I laughed
or allethophobia is really real.
Yeah, well, maybe it is. I just know that he delivered that to some people that, CJ, I guarantee you that there were people that watched him go into that were like, preach, Reverend, preach, hallelujah. I guarantee you that people that watched that show, when they saw that, yes, the burning eyes, yeah, it was on fire. He's doing it for us.
Look, he set the stage for that. You know what? I just so happened to be watching TV when he actually did it, like that day. When he was saying, I'm doing this for you guys. I was like, No, this mother sucker ain't sitting up here trying to make himself like into a water. Are you serious?
Oh yeah.
No,
oh,
you
yeah.
ain't.
And they
cheating,
believe it.
bro. You
They
ain't
believe
doing
it.
nothing.
Hey,
You ain't doing nothing for nobody except for yourself. Stop. Stop the
Re-
madness. And then
re-
from that point on, that's what you heard. It's like everybody get their cues from the crap that comes out of his mouth. It's like he's doing this for us. He's doing this for and
Well,
what and
he's-
what rights are you vindicating?
Right.
Well, so he's long held himself up as even before his campaign is the one rich guy who would speak up for the common man and stuff.
Yeah.
I did have this is my first time seeing that clip, and so just off the
Yeah.
top, some reactions and stuff. Stephen Miller is a daywalker. No white man should be that pale and not be a vampire. And he's also obviously a sub because there's no way that you would humiliate yourself unless you regularly get pissed on.
That's why they didn't do the cavity check. That's why they didn't do the cavity check, Jay. Because they would found him off Trump's ass. You're right. You're right.
And the veracity that he spoke with about such stupidity, I hadn't seen that since like a 1980s frat movie like Porky's, when they have like a stupid speech in there and stuff where you just talk about nonsense.
Oh my God.
But yeah, like I said, the only thing on fire about Donald Trump is his urinary tract.
Right.
And you know, the idea, and again, but it actually goes back to my just previous point of the marketing and stuff that goes on and stuff. So great segue and stuff, because he has marketed himself as the everyday man who just happens to be, you know, a billionaire, which no one believes that he is. No other billionaire believes he's a billionaire. Who's the guy that who's
no,
running
they be laughing at his ass.
Yeah, they but you know, then that's fine, you know, that's fine. And so what rights is he defending? Because he's positioned himself as a champion for traditional family values and stuff, even though he's never had a traditional family. He's cheated on every woman that he's ever been with and stuff. I'm not throwing stones about that. I'm just saying that I'm not out there position myself as traditional family and stuff. You know, I've been divorced. I've been divorced 3 times. I'm not the dude to ask about traditional families and stuff.
Right.
But and that, you know, stay with somebody till you die type stuff. But in the same thing, you know, he has marketed himself, and so when he says that, and he said, I don't know if you've heard this before, but he said over and over again that they're coming. They're attacking me, but they're coming for you. And what he's saying is that I'm the one that's protecting your rights to own guns, your rights to have these traditional families, your rights to have your Christian values, what America and democracy and stuff. And that's why they keep saying,
he can't spell Christian values.
Well, I mean, look, you know, the a lot of Christian, and so even again, marketing stuff, a lot of people will sit there and they will point out obvious facts about Donald Trump, and what people will then say, especially some Christians I've heard, is, well, you know, God used Paul. You know, there were people out there. There were people out there in the Bible who were used by the Lord who were not great people before they became into the service of the Lord, and that's how they justified Donald Trump, which is partly why I'm Muslim.
Well, Saul became Paul. Donald Trump ain't changed his name.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Saul became Paul.
Thank you. Because I was about to say that these men and women that were used, these men and women that were used in the service of God, them themselves had came to a point to where they changed.
Right.
And that was the perfect example, Brian. Thank you. I can't stand when people talk out the side of their neck, and especially about when it comes to Christianity.
But that's the marketing. The marketing
is
that's the marketing though, CJ, and that's what I'm telling you why it's so powerful is that they draw these comparisons, and then they say, you go, well, obviously he didn't change his name. He's going to, you know, he's representing stuff, and everything that you're talking about him is things he did in the past. He has changed. Show me how he hasn't changed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now he's got these RICO charges. He's charged across the country and stuff. So he's still doing the same stuff. But that's because he's being persecuted because and that's why a lot of people have tied his mysticism to religion and stuff, and that's why they hang so strong. The one thing I've always said is that you can never argue with somebody of faith, because faith requires you to believe without having any facts. And in fact, if you can have all the facts against you and stuff, your faith requires you to believe things that you cannot see and and not trust your eyes and senses of things that you can see. And so when you are when they tied Donald Trump to this bigger narrative of him being a champion of their faith and stuff, even when you point things, and this is so when you have arguments with people and stuff, you understand why you can't dissuade them, because you're now in the realm of faith, and you can't just say, well, I have, that's like going and say, well, we found Jesus' body, and we did this and DNA and science and stuff like that. And people of faith will go, I don't care what you find and stuff. I believe what I believe. And that's how he was able, again, with great marketing from the Republican side, able to turn that over into something bigger than himself, into a movement of stuff that people could get behind no matter what you say.
Yeah, right. I agree with that, man. That's beautifully put. Yeah, that's one thing. That's like that is like the trump card of all arguments. As soon as someone starts talking about their belief, then that's a wrap. So you
can't fight with that. So going into those beliefs, there's these Christian beliefs that folks have attached themselves to that are pro-lifers, that talk about how all life is important, all life is vital, and they use that to attach it to mostly abortion. But the thing that I've come to realize is that after somebody's born, life is just beginning, more so than anything else. So when people that say that they're pro-life, to me, I always wonder, why does that only involve the unborn and not those that live day to day to day? And I'll tell you what I mean by that, why I'm asking that question. The Biden administration recently announced that they were going to start negotiating prices on 10 drugs with Medicare and Medicaid. This was part of the Inflation Reduction Act, where one of the key facets was to bring things like insulin to where you pay no more than $25 a month for insulin. Now, I take insulin once a month. It is very expensive if I had to pay for it out of my pocket. I know, Jermaine, you take insulin as well. My mom takes insulin as well. Medicare, Medicaid are government programs. So the federal government is attempting to lower the cost of certain prescription drugs to help those that are the most vulnerable be able to afford medication. Medicare, Medicaid Medicare takes care of people 65 and older. It will take care of people younger than that with disabilities. Medicaid is a government-run program that partners the federal government and the state government to be able to take care of things that Medicare doesn't provide, whether it's senior housing, things like that, that typically do not fall under Medicare. Medicare has a couple of different tiers, whether it's the healthcare part, whether it's Medicare Part D, that takes care of prescription drugs. The first 10 drugs that the Biden administration wants to negotiate, these are drugs that have been out in the market for 7 years or more. And a lot of these drugs, I think all of them, do not have a generic version of this drug, which means that the pharmaceutical industry can charge most exorbitant prices for these drugs. Now, a lot of these drugs, even though I'm not 65, I can relate to, because there are some of them that I actually take now that I look at and say, you know what, if I didn't have medical insurance through my job, what would I have to pay for these? So these are some of the drugs, Jermaine, that they're going to actually uh, start trying to negotiate prices with. And the crazy thing is, the pro-life party is totally against this because they feel like it is a socialization of the pharmaceutical industry. You're socializing drugs.
Well, we've already said, so I know you're going to talk about it, but the big thing is that people have to understand in the last 20 years, the American people have paid for the R&D of most of these drugs. And
Correct.
so what's happened is that it's the worst episode of Shark Tank where these drug companies have come into the US government and pitched the idea of, well, I'm going to create this drug. I just need $1 billion from you, and I'm going to offer you zero interest in my company. And the government has said yes. And
Right.
so when we talk about the socialization and stuff, we've already paid into it. We should have some say or some negotiating power into what the product is because we help with the development. And so for people to sit there and just real quick, the reason that they like babies is because their babies are not attached to sin yet. And that's a religious concept and stuff. Once you're born and you start doing stuff, then we can start throwing stones at you, even though we're not supposed to be judging. We do it anyway. But
Right.
a baby, that's the whole thing. A baby hasn't hurt anybody. But that black kid, he's got a toy gun. You need to shoot him.
Or that baby that wasn't aborted that decided at some point in their life that they wanted to be trans, that they wanted you to call them a certain pronoun, that they wanted to love who they wanted to love, like you get to love who you want to love. They get to marry who they want to marry, like you get to marry who you want to marry. Those kind of things. And because you feel that your faith tells you that that's wrong, you get to decide what's right and wrong for everybody else. Your faith should dictate how you live, not how you need to see everybody else live. And I will keep saying that till I die. And because of your short-sighted bigotry, you push people away from the faith that you're supposed to draw them to. Anyway, Eliquis is for the prevention of treatment and blood clots. Between June the 22nd and June 2022 and May of this year, Medicare has spent $16 billion on this, and this covers over 3.7 million Americans every single year. The next one is Jardiance, Jermaine. I don't know if you take Jardiance. I do. This is for diabetes and heart failure. And $7 billion has been spent, and this affects 1.5 million Americans. And these are just ones in Medicare. These are not like me. I'm not included in that number. And I bring up Jardiance. I get Jardiance every single month. I just went to the drugstore before the show to get a prescription of Jardiance. And I was telling Lori before the pre-show, Jermaine, that my Jardiance cost me. What I did with it? Oh, here it is. My Jardiance cost me $2,112.99 for 90 of those, and you take one a day, so a 3-month supply. So if you want to break it down and say, well, that's only $650 a month roughly for some Jardiance. Now listen, what it's for is diabetes and heart failure, which I have both. So these aren't medications like Viagra that just help you get hard. These are things that help you live.
But is Viagra on the list?
21, no, it's not yet. But out of that $2,100 prescription, because I have insurance through my employer, I only had to pay $10. But if I did not have insurance, I'd be on the hook for $2,100 for one prescription to keep me alive. And what we're finding is that seniors are having to weigh whether they can afford this or whether they can miss doses. Okay, I know I'm supposed to take it every day. If I take it every day, I'm going to run out too fast. Let me take it every other day. Let me just do some other things where maybe my sugar's going to spike up, but I'm going to just try to, keep it as low as I can. But I can't take this every day because I'll run out. People are having to make those kind of life decisions. Here's another one that I take. It's called Entresto. It's for heart failure. $2 billion in a year period. I mean, I take these things. There's a Stelara for psoriasis, arthritis, Crohn's disease. There's one that's Imbruvica for blood cancers, Enbrel for rheumatoid arthritis, um, Farxiga, diabetes, heart failure, chronic kidney disease, Januvia, diabetes. There's the Flex Touch, the Penfield, the Novolog. I know moms knows Novolog very well. Diabetes. $2 billion has been spent to the pharmaceutical industry from Medicare for these drugs. And Republicans are out there saying that the government has no right to negotiate those prices down and that it's okay for grandma and grandpa to continue to pay out prices.
Well, I think this goes back to the whole argument, like for healthcare in general, when the Affordable Care Act came out and stuff, and people were complaining about that, like, you know, the government shouldn't be involved, government shouldn't be involved. And what they didn't understand was that everybody that goes to the hospital can't be denied treatment and stuff. And so the government the government was paying either way. And so when you look at these drug costs and how much it's costing a year for drugs and stuff, it behooves us, if you're talking about Republicans and being financially responsible, fiscally responsible, you want to negotiate these prices so the government isn't paying so much for these drugs. And so that helps the bottom line of the country. And you would think that would be very, very easy math because I just did it. And so it can't be that complicated. I don't think I used too big of words that you couldn't take this clip and put it somewhere somebody to understand. So disingenuous. And that's the problem with that party and stuff, is that a lot of things that they argue against are quality of life things, that even argue against their values and stuff. You know, when they go WW, what would Jesus do and stuff? You know, and then they do the exact opposite of what they think, what their religion tells them they should be doing through common acts and policy. And so it's amazing that people are allowed to continue to argue this way and not be called out.
Yeah, it's the branding again. I'm pro-life. I'm pro-life. And then there's, hey, we're trying to negotiate drug prices so that people can get the medications that they need to help them survive. Yeah, you're against it, and somehow you're pro-life. Make that make sense.
Well, it's money. I mean, at the end of the day, when people do stuff like that, it's because I've got stock in that company.
Follow the money.
Follow the money. A lot of this stuff is not political so much as it's financial. That's why a lot of these takes and a lot of people like Stephen Miller, even though I'm sure as a crypt keeper he makes a decent salary, but the real thing is that he makes more money, if you can believe it, outside of Halloween. He makes more money peddling lies and stuff, and a lot of them do.
Candace Owens does. She knows the truth, but because of what fills her pockets is so good, you're willing to basically crap on people to be able to take financial gain.
The Hodge twins, Candace Owens, and the rest of those buffoons who like to put themselves out there as the real voice of Black people when they're not. You think to yourself, she's got to know. She does know. I don't think, actually, I take it back. She's not that bright, but she's bright enough to know where money comes from.
Correct.
And you know, Candace Owens is no different than a stripper. I don't agree with Candace Owens why she would get naked on public TV and expose herself like that. I do agree with strippers, though. I do.
Absolutely.
I do.
They're wholesome.
They're wholesome. At least they've got proper motivation.
Yeah. But, yeah. That just kind of got me. I just saw that, and I'm just like, you know, when you're trying to do things to make people's lives better, and you carry this banner of family values and Christian values and whatever it is. If you want to say I'm a Christian and you never heard Jesus talk about taking care of the least of these, and then somehow you're fighting against medication for people 65 and older, I don't know what to call you other than hypocrite. I don't know what that is. Where you're basically and then when you say another Christian scripture where it talks about money is the root of all evil, and that's not what it says. It's just the love of money and the reason that motivates these people to do the things they do is because of the love of money. So cherry picking scriptures that, okay, I don't want to look at that scripture, but I want to look at these and look at these, and now I'm a wholesome Christian. It's just not being fully transparent and telling the whole story. It's branding yourself to be something that you're not.
It's literally as American as apple pie type stuff. Because I mean, just one big example. We grew up watching. If you're old enough, you grew up. My dad used to like to watch the westerns and stuff. And so there's a there's a big thing about America about where when men were men and they were conquering and taming the Wild West and stuff like that. And you look at cowboys being this certain way and Indians being savages and stuff, and it couldn't be further from the truth. Like it's like, and people still believe cowboys good, Indian bad. And the cowboys were the ones that were disturbing civilized people and raping and pillaging and killing them and stuff. They were the bad people, hands down. But marketing and history says that that's not the case unless you look deeper into it. So a lot of these people, like say, while they can have these, and cowboys too, they were known as protectors and stuff like that. They were not. That's not what they were. Most law enforcement back then, they were probably cowards and stuff when it really came to, because people got shot for real back then and stuff. That's why they have the tropes of handing over the 10 badge to the new guy because the last sheriff got killed and stuff. But most of them ran away before they got killed, unless they got shot in the back. But it's just one of those kind of things where you can have progressives, you can have these people out here touting these values and stuff and doing something completely different because the branding and marketing says, don't believe what you see. And even if you do see it, I'm doing it for a really good reason.
Right.
Just believe me.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, we're running short on time, but we can't leave without, what I don't like. Lori, I know we were in New York for a week. I know you love New York, but I'm sure there's things about it that you still don't like. Or maybe there was other things that you saw that you didn't like. Anything?
People.
Oh, New York was the wrong place.
People. What I don't like is feeling like my time was wasted. That when, yes, you and I, we were in New York, and I had a wonderful time, and
with me,
I wanted to do some other things that I was not able to do that I said I was going to do, and I didn't have that opportunity to do it while we were there. So just people in general, it just makes me think next time going around.
Okay. CJ, what you got, bro? I know something with driving. I think you're on mute. I think you're on mute, CJ. I think.
Oh,
yeah,
okay. I'm good. I got you. I have something a little different outside of traffic today.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with the food service industry. So stand by on this one, guys. I listen. I come from a family full of fast food franchise experience people. Stop giving me what you want and give me what I ordered, please. I cannot stand whenever I go through the drive-through or even walk in, you can tell it to their face. And you tell them, and I know you have to be specific because of your health. I would like this, and this, because this is what I'm paying for. As a matter of fact, back in our day, we used to pay this amount. Now I pay this amount for the same thing. Give me what I paid for. Exactly. Please and thank you.
There you go. Franchise.
Yes, sir.
What you got?
I don't think when I'm texting people and they decide they want to call me, this is a text conversation. And for anybody trying to FaceTime me, that is for platinum members only. Don't do that.
Right. You're gonna get a link to the portal that you have to register.
Yeah, don't do that. You're not a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, you've been paying money. Please don't do that. But yeah, I'm texting you for a reason because I don't want to talk to you. If I wanted to talk to you, I'd have called you. I have a number.
Dang.
No, like I don't like people that sit there and when you're trying to get one thing done, they try to get you to get into something else. And I'll give you a perfect example. My XM radio isn't working, and I'm calling Sirius XM. Hey, my XM radio isn't working. What's going on? I've already paid for it. I got a new car. I transferred my subscription over. They can't figure out what's wrong. We're sending me refresh links and everything else. Still not working. I'm having to use the app on my phone to send it through my auxiliary in the car and stuff. And, while we're still trying to figure it out, he goes right back to his script that they give him and tries to sell me on extending the trial package for $2 a month when I've had the package that I've had for over 7-8 years. And I'm like, why are you trying to sell me on something and you can't even effing fix what's wrong with it now?
Yeah.
Wow.
I hate people that work for these customer or quote unquote customer service things where I know they give you a script to read, but if you can at least think about what it is that the person is saying and does what's on this piece of paper make any sense to say? If that makes any sense, what to say or not. And it's just like people just will not think any further than their nose. And if they did, they would realize that what you were just about to ask me has to be one of the dumbest questions in the world. So I definitely don't like that. And as a side, I also don't like the person that sat there and stole one of my Jermaine Parker magnets off my car while I was in Brooklyn the other day, even though I should have known damn well that you mugs will steal anything that ain't nailed to the damn ground. What you gonna do with a magnet that say Jermaine Parker Realty and say Brian Parker Realtor on it? But if any good come out of it, call me. I will sell you a house in North Carolina to make up for it. Call a brother. My email address is on that magnet that you stole off my car.
Dang. Are you serious, bro?
Look, and you might as well took the other one. You left one and took. Look, Jesus Christ.
Hey, it is a dope logo though.
You didn't give him time enough. You came back too quick.
Maybe that's what it was. But you know what? You gotta love New Yorkers. They did it in broad daylight, right in front of the Airbnb. No shame in that game. No shame. But you know what? I knew better. I knew to take it off. I forgot about it because I just so used to looking at the car with it on it. Didn't even cross my mind. And then the driver's side, it was still there. So I get out of the driver's side. I'm used to looking at it. I came around to the passenger side to get something out of the passenger side. And I'm looking like,
where's my magnet?
Something looks different than the other side. So I couldn't help but laugh, but I'm just sitting there going, what did you need that for? Like, what kind of trophy is that? I mean, you had one job to go out and steal something, and you coming back with that. Whoever you came back to, I hope they slap the dog shit out you. Because that's just stupid to bring back. Why would you? Hey, look, Ma, look what I got. Or I hope like I'm gonna get you sucker. He gonna say you can take the window or you can take the stand.
Or the stand.
Hey, shout out to Cole Brooks for designing it, helping design that logo.
Yes, apparently people love it more than we thought.
Yeah, I think it's a dope logo. It's got it's West Charlotte. So the logo is the Charlotte skyline with West Charlotte colors and stuff integrated with the Jermaine Parker Realty. Right. So it's a dope logo. So I mean, yeah.
I've already ordered the replacements. It should be here in a couple of days. So
awesome. There's
that. So Jermaine Parker Realty still lives. Thank y'all for tuning in for another episode of Head to Head with Brian Parker, along with my co-host Lolo Parker, Mr. TNTBS CJ Jones, and as always, the one, the only, the franchise Jermaine Parker. We will do this again next Thursday, 7 p.m., where we will live stream on Facebook Live, LinkedIn, YouTube, Amazon Fire TV, as well as Roku. Check us out and check out some of the other content. Y'all have a great week. NFL, let's go. See y'all next week.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the